Welcome back to part two of the six-part beginner multifamily series. Right now, we're going to jump into how to build your real estate team. Okay, and this is very important. In part one, Adam talked about how he partnered with a real estate investor to help him get his first deal and no money down. So this is why it's so important to learn how to build your real estate team. So Adam, will you name and just explain the roles of the necessary key players we need on our real estate team, like lenders, investors, the key players?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so number one, as far as like your own partners, the people that you partner with as like the other owners of a company, I want you to wait. I want you to wait on that. I want you to just do a joint venture or two before you partner. Okay, the difference between a joint venture and a partner, the joint venture is going to mean that you do a deal together, but you're not creating a new LLC together. You're not going into business together. It's kind of like most people, they like to date before they get married. JV is like a date. It's seeing if you get along with them, right? Before you have to get married, and maybe you're with the wrong person for the rest of your life or something like that. So that your first people that you need are going to be people on your side to be the puzzle pieces to wear what you miss. Now, if you're good at everything, you want to wear all the hats, that's one thing. But if you're like me, you probably need other people on your team. You probably need some people that are really detail oriented. You probably need some people that are really excited to get out in front of people. But outside of your core team, that's you and maybe a business partner or a joint venture partner. Outside of that, you must have a real estate attorney. Randomly enough, I believe that you have to have a tax attorney. And I think that you have to have a contract attorney. For me, with my business, I reach out to a securities attorney as well, because we are raising millions of dollars at a time. The last raise that we did, the raise was 6.2 million for one deal. And the raise doesn't mean the purchase price. The purchase price was 8 figures. The raise was 6 million, 6.2. And so you have to have somebody on your team that makes sure that the way that you raise that money is within securities law. Okay. So a real estate attorney is important. They don't have to be a partner in your company. They just have to be somebody that you know who they are and you have the ability to call them, because some of your questions need to be answered by a real estate attorney. Sometimes you need a new contract, or you need somebody to read a contract to make sure that you're not going to get into trouble. That's why I say you got to have a contract attorney, because somebody else is going to draft a contract by their attorney, but it's not going to be in your best interest. So you want to give it to your own attorney so that they can redline it, and it's going to cost you like $50 or $100 just for them to redline a few things, maybe even more, maybe 300. But it's important, because what can it cost you if you don't do that? What can it cost you if you don't end up having an attorney look at your contract? So that's important. I say a tax attorney, yes or no, maybe not. Maybe you have a bookkeeper, maybe you have a CPA, maybe you have your accountant that works on taxes. A tax attorney is important for a lot of people because they know the law for taxes, and an accountant is important because they know how to do the books. So sometimes you need to do the books right, and sometimes you just need to have the books done. So it's kind of open there. Got to have a few brokers. Almost everybody out there's got to have some brokers in mind, real estate brokers. Okay. You're also going to want to have a title company. Especially if you're doing single family, you want to like have the same title company. You want everything done there. You want the people to know your name, all that kind of stuff. If you're working on larger deals, then you can usually use a title company that your broker would suggest. You can say, broker, what title company do you want to do our closings at? And that is geographically specific, because in Denver, where I'm in the Colorado area, all transactions are done at a title company. But in other places that I've owned, I have properties in Ohio and Georgia and Alabama and Tennessee and a bunch of other states as well. But because they're all different, some of those don't have title companies. So some of them have just an attorney. They're called closing attorneys usually, but it's an attorney that handles all of these different parts. So who else do you need on your team? It would be smart of you to have a few different types of lenders. So in lenders, I think lenders are tools. Okay, I don't mean that rudely. I think people who lend money are different types of tools that you can have in your tool belt. So it can be important if you're a handyman and you're going to a job, it might be important that you have your saw. Maybe you need a screwdriver and you need a hammer. Maybe you don't need some of your other tools today, but you need these others. And other jobs, you need the other tools. It's the exact same thing. Sometimes you need a hard money lender. Sometimes you need a bank. Sometimes you need a private lender. Sometimes you need etc. So all these different things are tools. So you want to be prepared with the tools ahead of time. So when you get to the job, you can be like, oh, I'm glad I brought my screwdriver. You know what I mean? Brokers, attorneys, lenders, investors. Yeah, I think that answers your question.
Okay. Well, thank you. I hope you guys are writing this down. My second question is, where do we meet these people to get these people on our team, and how do we approach them, especially when we don't have credibility or just, we're beginners starting out? How do we build that relationship with them?
Well, the good news is that most of the attorneys and your CPA or your accountant and some of these real estate brokers, most of them, they make money when they do deals, and they kind of need you if they're going to do deals. So where to find them is probably the best place to find those types of people is by going to real estate groups and asking for referrals. That's probably the number one best way to find most of them. Now, when I say that, I'm about to say that passive investors are the hardest people to find. And while that's true, once you have experience, you're going to have so many passive investors that want to invest in your deals, and it's going to be hard for you to find deals and stuff. So in the beginning, it's a challenge. But brokers are easy because they get paid on commission. Attorneys are easy because they get paid on commission. So you just ask for a consultation. You just ask to meet for coffee. You just ask to have them tell you what you're due. And I already said that the best way to find them is to go to events and ask for referrals. That's the one single way, is to do those two steps. But I want you to not stop at just one.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times people say that when you're looking for a contractor, that you should have 3 bids. It's the exact same thing. You are going to go to the 3 best attorneys that you were told about, and you're going to sit down with all 3 of them, and then you're going to make a decision of which real estate attorney do I want to work with forever? Which contract attorney do I want to work with forever? Which accountant do I want to work with forever out of the 3 that you're vetting? So you asked, how do you get them on your team? It's easy for those. For the investors, probably the best way to get investors on your team is through your credibility and through talking to people. And when I say talking to people, that means you got to tell the most amount of people what you do. And I'm not suggesting that this becomes an elevator pitch that you've perfected and that's exactly the same wording every single time. But I'm just saying that you have open dialogue, legit human conversations with as many people as you can. When you do that, you're going to slowly build relationships. But when you come with just an elevator pitch, yeah, sure, they're going to know what you do. And sure, a small portion of them are going to be like ready to go. But in general, the elevator pitch pushes people away. So you just want to have an open conversation and let everybody know kind of what you do, get to know them. And as you become friends and have a good relationship, those investors are going to come out of the word woodwork. They're going to come out and ask you, hey, do you have any projects coming up? The first time you hear it, you're going to be like, whoa, someone just asked me if they could put money in my deals, and you're going to panic, and you're going to be sweating, and you're going to be excited, and you're going to want to say everything to them. Play it cool. Just be like, okay, awesome. Let's try to see if we can work this out. And then you want to vet them out. You want to kind of vet the investor out, because they're going to feel a lot better if you don't jump on it. If you're like, yeah, I need the money right now, let's go. If you kind of play it cool, like you were, like, go back to dating. Remember when we were talking about dating? Mm-hmm. Girls are so good at playing hard to get. They know exactly how to do it. They perfect this in junior high. They already know how to do this. And some of us men, we never learn how to play hard to get. We're always, this is what I want. We just say it. And so when you become looking for money, and whether you're male or female or whatever, you got to play a little hard to get. You got to play the game a little bit. You can't come on overbearing and try to beg for money right at the beginning. You just kind of got to play it cool, like you would if you were a girl in junior high school playing hard to get.
Okay. So I remember hearing you say, don't do the elevator pitch, or should we still have one, or what's a good one if we can still do it?
With my clients, when we spend one-on-one time together, we spend time coming up with an elevator pitch that doesn't sound like an elevator pitch. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So every single person on this call has a unique situation. So that's why it has to be one-on-one. We can't just come up with a blanket statement that's going to work for everybody. Okay. My pitch is I just start asking how they are, what they do, how long they've done that. I get interested in it. I say that it's cool. I say that it's intriguing. And if they say, what do you do? I just say something like this. And it depends on sometimes that person, but I just say something like, oh, I buy apartment buildings. That's really all I do. Multifamily investor, been doing it for a long time. And we partner with other people and we buy apartments together and just try to collect the cash flow. But tell me more about you being an engineer. I think that's really interesting. How long you been doing that? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
yeah. So it's kind of like, as I'm saying it, I try to deflect it a little bit. I try not to get too eager about it. I just say, oh, this is kind of what we do. I've been doing it for a long time. I like it a lot. It's fun. And but tell me more about you. And I just turn it around. The more I do that, it's almost like you have a carrot that you're dangling in front of the horse's mouth, and the horse just keeps walking forward. But because they keep pulling forward like that, they never really get the carrot all the way. But they get hungry for it. The closer they get, the more kind of you dangle at in front of them. And that's the way I try to do it with past investors. I give them a little bit, and then I deflect it and just ask them more about them and get really interested in them and what they're doing and how they're doing it. And they're probably going to ask another question. If they wanted the carrot, they're probably going to ask another question. So you say a little bit, you deflect it, ask about them, and then later on, they might ask you. Now you know you got them. When they ask you 2 or 3 questions, you know you pretty much got them. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, don't get too excited.
Okay. Okay, so now let's talk about how, as a beginner investor, and we don't really have that much credibility, but we really want to joint venture, like you said, with someone, or maybe an experienced investor. How can we approach them to show that we can create value? What are the ways to create value when we don't have experience?
Okay. If you are new and you don't have the experience yet, tenacity is going to go a long way. Being the squeaky wheel is going to go a long way. Um, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Have you guys ever heard that? The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Um, when I uh, became, when I got back into real estate, because I got hurt in 2011. I got hurt. Okay. The economy was really bad and I wasn't doing a good job. So in 2016, I was like, I really need to get into this again. I really need to get back into this. It was 2015 that I started doing deals, but in 2016, I was trying to answer this same question Rachel just asked. I was trying to answer like, how do I get people serious about me? And what I did was a couple of things. Number one, massive action. Number two, telling everybody what I did. And number three, starting my own meetup group and podcast.
Mm.
So with my meetup group, I was able to invite high level people that were crushing it to come to my meetup group. And I was good at putting people in the room. I was good at just getting people there and getting them in front of these other speakers. And I never really said I did a lot, and I never really said I didn't do a lot. I just kind of said, what I'm doing and what I'm looking to do, and got to know my speakers. And the credibility that I gained with them was amazing. And so, again, tenacity, massive action. Like you got to be working at it hard, or else people aren't going to take you seriously. If you're kind of dabbling, if you kind of think that you want to do it, it's not the right time to find somebody. You got to be obviously be serious at it. And then telling everybody what I did, what I was going to do, what I was trying to do, and hosting my own thought leadership platform. Those three things I think gave me the most amount of value with your question.
So, but if let's say if someone like me will say I was trying to approach you, what would you want someone to say to you to that would make you be on board with a new real estate investor?
Yeah. So I might be the only one who says this. I don't suggest that very much.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of people that suggest it. There's a lot of people that say you just, the more people that you help get what they want, the more likely you'll get what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Famous words. Uh, eh, in my opinion, there's a lot of good people out there that are doing the business that get a lot of new people that are just kind of timid and come to them and say, how can I help you? What can I do to help you? Hey, and a lot of times it just doesn't work.
Mm.
And so I might be alone in saying that, and I'm comfortable if I'm the only one with that opinion. My suggestion is different. I'm saying that you become somebody that attracts them instead of going after them.
Mm.
Think of it like a magnet. Like back in the days in 1920, 1930, 1940, salespeople were the most effective salespeople in 1930 were people that were pushy salesmen that would crank your arm, that had all the smooth things to say. They were the ones that could get you to buy. But over time, since 1940, we started becoming smarter. And now when you go into a store and you're ready to buy a shirt and the store clerk says, "How can I help you?" What do you say every single time? You say, "No, no, no, I don't need help. You're good. Stay over there." You
Mm-hmm.
go to you want to buy a car so bad.
Oh, okay.
You want to buy a car so bad, you go to the car place, and all of a sudden 3 car salesmen come and chase you down, and you're just like, "No, no, no. I don't even want to buy anymore because you're chasing me."
Yeah.
And that's how I feel it is within the situation you're talking about.
Right.
Like when we come after somebody and say, "How can I add value to you? What can I do for you?" like that, it's almost like we're coming into that store. We know we want to buy a shirt, but we deflect immediately. We say, "No, no, 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 I don't need help. I'm just looking. I'm just looking. Just window shopping today. Not sure if I'm buying anything. You can stay behind the counter." So instead,
Yeah.
what I suggest is that we become somebody with confidence, with tenacity, where that other person sees us and comes to us.
Now, how do we do
It's
that?
a reverse way to do it. I believe that the best way to do that is the 3 things that I shared.
Oh, okay.
A, take massive action. B, tell everybody what you do. And C, start your own thought leadership platform. When you do those 3 things, everybody is going to notice what you're doing and they're going to come to you, and you can start filtering them and you can start deciding who you want to work with and who you don't. It completely turns the tables from the way that you were suggesting it
Mm-hmm.
to the way that I've done it.
I see. So when you say create massive action, can you elaborate? Like, what is that? What should we be doing when we take massive action?
Awesome. One thing that's massive action is hiring a coach or a mentor,
Okay.
because you're putting money where your mouth is and you're not just a dabbler. So that's one idea. Another idea is to start sending mailers. You're actually sending mail, or you're actually calling brokers, or you're actually putting in offers, or you're actually starting a meetup, or you're actually doing the things that you want to do instead of thinking about the things that you want to do. When you're a doer, you start attracting those people. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Thank you. Thank you. So now, just I would like to talk about. Can you just explain, like, when you say finding mentors and just actually taking action? What are some of the best resources you can give us so we can start taking action? Where can we go? Do you coach? Any of those resources?
Yeah. Yeah. So it really, this here's probably an idea that'll work for most people
Mm-hmm.
when looking for coaches and mentors. As you go into these real estate groups, play the game slow. Like, just kind of like, don't get too excited about it right at the very beginning. You want to vet the people. The most important thing is that you're vetting the people, because if you just look it up and you've hired the mentor with the best search engine optimization, then you're only basically hiring the person that has the most money. You're not necessarily hiring the person who can teach you the thing the best. But how to find the person that teaches you the thing the best is by talking to other people that have experienced coaches and mentors. So you could go onto your Facebook and you can say, "I'm looking to hire a coach or a mentor for this type of real estate." Perhaps you want to do self-storage. Maybe you want to do multifamily. Maybe you want to do fix and flips. Maybe you want to do wholesales. Whatever it is, you won't just say real estate. You'll say fix and flip or wholesale or apartment or self-storage. So you want to get other people to tell you who they've used, and then you want to start calling them.
Okay.
And so that's probably the best way to find a mentor. The best way to take action on yellowletters.com is a very famous place for sending direct mail for investors like you.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's what you're looking for, I don't make a commission off of this. It's just that they're the biggest one that I know of,
Mm-hmm.
and they come to my mind, and I've never heard anything negative against them. So Yellow Letter seems to be a good one. If you're, whatever you're looking to do, if you want to get a website, search for websites. Remember the contractor rule, the same thing that I said to do with attorneys and CPAs. interview 3 different website builders. Get to know their prices. Why do you charge this? What's their upfront? What's their monthly? Why is there a monthly? How much is the monthly? What does the monthly go to? Are you doing this with SEO? And then you want to kind of date these 3 places until you decide which yellow letters company to marry, which
Right.
one that you're going to really be solid with for the future. So does
Okay.
that help?
It does. It does. I hope it helps everyone else on the call too. Now we're going to just jump into the questions that some people have asked in the chat. Okay. And so Renika, she asked, do you work with self-directed IRA investors when raising capital?
Renika, yes, we do. We work with self-directed IRA investors and self-directed 401k/QRP, self-directed QRP investors when we raise capital. And there's a few things that you want to know and understand. UDFI and UBTI. UBTI is called UBIT. Some people call it UBIT, but anyways, you want to just understand what UBIT is. You want to understand what UDFI is. Basically, what UDFI is unrelated debt financed income. So, Renika, it just depends on what you're doing. If they're lending debt and they're completely passive, then you won't have to worry about these things. If they are lending equity, if they're a joint venture partner, like with me in my multifamily, my partners who put money in, like the $6.2 million that I think I said either on this call or the last one, when we were raising for that big deal, we had a lot of self-directed retirement account investors, and everybody who invests with us is an equity partner. Just like when you invest in Coca-Cola, you technically own the upside of Coca-Cola. If you are putting debt on a normal house, sometimes that means that you don't own any equity. You can't, if the borrower makes $1 million, you still just get your little percentage. If the borrower loses, you probably still get your little percentage. But if it's equity, then you share in the equity. So we share in the equity, Renika. So what that means is when we share in the equity, that means that they have debt against the property. And if there's debt against the property, then actually that self-directed IRA person will have to pay taxes. So we suggest a lot of our clients that have a self-directed IRA, we suggest that they get a QRP or a self-directed 401k when they invest with us, or we at least advise to them that they're going to pay this UDFI tax. And all that means, to make it pretty simple, is UDFI is taxed at the highest rate, which is the trust rate, which is pretty close to 50%. So I'm just going to call it 50%, even though it's like 40 something, 41 or something. Now, if I have an 80-20 loan on my property, and what's going to happen is that self-directed investor, if I give them 10 grand, the 20% of the property that has no debt on it, they don't pay any taxes. So that's wonderful. That's awesome. Okay. The 2 grand tax free, but the 8 grand that I give them is taxed at the highest rate, which they're probably going to pay $4,000, $3,000 to $4,000, even from their IRA. But yeah, we use self-directed investors all the time. It's very, there's a lot to work with, and you would want to probably work directly with their custodian. In general, there's some type of custodian, unless they have check privileges where they use their own check account. But Renika, if you have more questions on that, I can answer them. You can set up a call with me, or I can put you in touch with real experts that know even more than I do. But yeah, we use self-directed retirement accounts every single deal.
So if they wanted to connect with you, could you put your information in the chat if you didn't mind? So she could reach out to you if she needed to,
Yep,
if you don't
I'm
mind.
happy to.
Thank you. And hopefully, Reniki, he answered your question, or will soon if you have any more, you need more details. So Lawanda, she asked, what is a good way to structure a partnership with a passive investor and a hard money lender? Which I believe we kind of touched on that already. So in a sense.
Well, Lawanda, sometimes you're doing debt and sometimes you're doing equity. I think the best way for both people in general is debt. If they want the bigger upside, then you would have it equity. I hope you understand what that means. I haven't gotten to know everybody on the call, so debt and equity might be. Oh, yep, she's all good on that.
Mhm.
So then, if you're doing debt, the best way is that they need to have a mortgage against the property. They got to have a mortgage or a deed of trust. Okay, a trust deed, some people call it, and you need to have a promissory note. And the promissory note may or may not include a personal guarantee. I like giving personal guarantees to my lenders, but you might not want to personal guarantee it. You might just want to have a promissory note that defines the interest rate and the time of the term. So if it's debt, you need those two things: a mortgage or a deed of trust or a trust deed, and then you need a promissory note with or without a personal guarantee. If it's equity, man, that's a huge a huge can of worms, and there's a lot to it. And I think we'll get into more of those
Yeah,
details
we will.
within these other calls.
We will. So make sure you tune in and make sure you're following us and become a member on Multifamily on Fire Meetup, because it's a 6-part series and we're going to dive more into those later. So the next person, Dennis, he asks, how do you get in front of a SD IRA folks?
Yeah, the best way, Dennis, is probably to just put out content. The easiest, best way is to put out content. So, what I'm saying is that you might go on Facebook and you might just let people know that that it's even possible. Okay, because most people have no idea that they could invest with their retirement account into real estate. They're like, no, the only thing you can do with your retirement account is mutual funds. That's all they know. And so, Dennis, like if you become the person who is like the beacon, the person who lets them know that it's even possible, that's the best way, because some of the people that already know it, they're already figuring out what they're doing with it. But if you can help somebody understand that it's even possible, now they're going to come to you when they're saying, well, how do I get this out? What should I do? And then you can say, if you want, I've got this project coming up. We can work out a deal so that you can just be a part of it with your IRA. Okay, so that's kind of some of the info. The other info that I would say is go to Facebook groups where there's a bunch of self-directed retirement account people. There are Facebook groups called SD IRA. There's a bunch of them, self-directed 401k or QRP. So go into that, and I think that'll help you get in front of some of them. Then any other advice that I would have would probably take too long for the call.
Yeah.
But yeah, there you go.
Okay, thank you. So if anyone did want to reach out to Adam, you can go to raisemoneycoach.com. Can you talk to us a bit more about that? Do you want to share about that?
Sure. Every year I host the Raising Money Summit, and I help a lot of people brand themselves and get out in front of more people. And so on raisingmoneycoach.com, there you can push a button, which you just basically schedule a 30-minute consultation with me. That's if you're considering hiring me as a coach. I'll give you a smaller thing that's just a quick and dirty, like 10-minute call. So I'll put that out. But Raising Money Coach, most of the apartment investors in our awesome nation, most of them talk about me first as the place to go when you want to learn how to attract capital, raise money, manage all of your investors, because we have literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, like over 700 investors that want to be passive investors in our deals. And we got to figure out, how do we manage all this? How do we get them on our list? So a lot of people come to me to help them learn that. So that's where I make spend most of my time. So let me just give you this smaller link, and it's only for a quick 10-minute call. So I'll just give you a Calendly link as well.
Yeah.
But if you want to hire me, go to raisingmoneycoach.com, see what we're due, see how we do it, schedule a consultation. But please, only if you're serious about hiring a coach to help you raise more capital.
Yeah, so in the chat, he's putting a quick little 10-minute call, which is a free call, right? If they want a consultation in the chat. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, completely free. completely free, and there's never a sales pitch. On the consultation, the 30-minute, there's a sales pitch. We're going to talk about if this works for us or not. On the quick call, it's just, let me answer a couple quick questions for you or put you in touch with somebody. Yeah.
Okay, great. And also in the chat, I just want to let everyone know, if with these recordings, if you want to watch it again, I put a link in the chat. It looked like posted it twice, but basically on my YouTube channel, I'm going to be posting the recordings as well, and Adam will be sharing it on his platform. So you will be able to watch this again. And Adam, is there anything else that we didn't cover that you would like to mention before we wrap things up, or anything you think that we should know that I just wasn't even educated enough to ask you about?
When it comes to building your real estate team,
Mm-hmm.
it's really important to me that everybody on the call knows that I told you that you shouldn't just go and start a new LLC with any random person or just your best friend just because you're kind of both interested in the business. I think it's a lot stronger for you um, to do joint ventures first. So that's the first one that I would definitely suggest. Another thing that I would suggest as far as like building your team is to make sure that you are considering if you are the yin to their yang. You're both a couple of puzzle pieces. You've got a lot and they've got a lot. But if your puzzle pieces don't match, if they're both outies and they just couldn't ever go together or whatever, it's not going to work. You're not going to have success. You're going to be stressed out. And most of the people that are partnering, it's two different entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
So you're an entrepreneur who's ready for risk, and you want to ignore the details, and they're an entrepreneur and they're ready for risk and they are wanting to ignore the details. Most people decide to partner with someone exactly like they are. And the issue is that you're not the right puzzle pieces for each other. So because today we're talking about, how to build your real estate team, I hope to get across to you how important it is to partner up with somebody who is the yin to your yang, and not to just pick your best friend, not to just pick the other person who's excited about it, who's ready for risk. You got to pick somebody opposite of you,
Yeah.
somebody who might be more detail oriented, who might be more steady, who might be more okay with sitting in a room and just getting a lot of work done, when you might be the type of person who would rather talk to people and get out and shake hands and negotiate and sell. So regardless of who you are, find your opposite when you're getting into a partnership, and try a couple of joint ventures like dating before you get married, before you join them forever.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. And anyone in the chat, let's see, what did you say? Multifamily, what is the lowest percentage down a traditional lender will take if the property is for investment?
Some lenders say 25%. Some lenders say 10%. Some say 15 or 12 for investment. So Clay, very interesting question. There's a lot of lenders out there, and it depends on where you are. But I know you're going to be told that it's 25% by most people. However, I promise you can get down to at least as low as 15%, maybe 10. And finally, just Clay, if you want to get into an investment property with little down, you could house hack too.
Mm-hmm.
You could do a 3% down or a VA loan for nothing down, and have other people living in your units, in your house, in your rooms, and that way you kind of are able to breach that and live there, and it's still used for you. It's for investment properties. uh, he can't do that.
You say he can't
um,
do that.
okay, cool. Well, either way, I mean, you might be able to buy a fourplex and do a FHA loan. So it's an option for most people to do a FHA loan with a fourplex or a threeplex. So regardless, yes, you can probably get a 10 or 15% if you go to the right place.
Okay. Well, I thank everyone for tuning in. I thank you so much, Adam, for sharing your knowledge. And then everyone, please come back on June 5th. We're going to cover part 3 as well as part 4. So part 3, we will be covering where to meet investors and how to partner with them. And then on part 4, we're going to cover how to start your own meetup as well as how to start your own podcast. And remember, he was talking about taking massive action, and that was one of the ways that you could do so. So you really want to make sure you join in, and that's how you can really grow your network, okay? So thank you all so much for joining. Anything else? Any last words, Adam, or no?
Nope. Thanks for having me. I'm excited about this. This is what you're doing is awesome.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you so much for joining us and just helping out. I'm just so thankful. And everyone, I hope you all receive so much value. Let's see, there was one last comment. What did they say? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Lawanda. All right, so you all have a great rest of your day. And please follow me on YouTube at Rachel Lagan and share with everyone that you know about our future coming events. And if you know anyone else interested in real estate, then we're helping everyone, try to break that down when you how to buy your first property, okay? All right, take care, you guys.